It's 2 a.m. You open your phone to see a 19-year-old launching a company, another buying a home, and a third celebrating a promotion. A voice in your head asks why your life feels stagnant while everyone else is moving. You start calculating the distance between your current position and where they seem to be. This anxiety relies on a mental model. Life is a linear game with fixed checkpoints. Graduation by 22, a career by 25. Adopting this model means missing a deadline feels like a system failure. If you haven't hit the milestone, you've lost. We internalize this pressure as an objective reality, but it is a cognitive illusion built on a timeline that no one actually voted for. Human comparison used to be local. You measured your progress against your neighbors or a few dozen classmates, a sample size small enough to be grounded in reality. Digital platforms have expanded that circle to millions. Every time you scroll, you're processing a non-stop feed of curated highlights from people you've never met. Your brain handles this influx by extracting the best trait from each person, one person's wealth, another's fitness, a third's relationship, and fusing them into a single perfect persona. When you compare your actual day-to-day life against this composite phantom, you will inevitably feel inadequate. You aren't falling behind in a fair race. You are competing against a person who doesn't exist. Consider two people. One graduates at 22, the other at 35. Purely by the clock, the 35-year-old appears to have missed a decade of progress. But if the 22-year-old is in a field they dislike, and the 35-year-old has just discovered a path that will sustain them for the next 40 years, the chronological start date loses its meaning. Regretting lost time treats the past as an active variable, but the hours spent mourning the last 5 years are the very thing that will waste the next 5. Starting points are static numbers. They don't account for the trajectory of where you are actually heading. The sensation of being late often masks a different physical state, the feeling of being stationary. This is why an 18-year-old can feel paralyzed, while a 40-year-old feels hope. The difference isn't their age, it's that one is stuck in place while the other is moving. Your brain prioritizes the vector over your absolute position. It cares less about your current coordinates on a graph and more about the direction of your movement. If you are improving by even a small percentage, the internal pressure begins to lift. Imagine removing the peer achievements and the social feeds. If you couldn't see anyone else's milestones today, would your current pace still feel like a failure? To measure movement accurately, look back exactly 12 months. If your habits or your understanding of the world have evolved since then, you are not late. You are in motion. Real maturation is often invisible. Like a tree establishing its roots, the most important progress doesn't show up on a timeline immediately. It requires a velocity you can actually sustain rather than a speed designed to impress an audience. You only truly fall behind when you convince yourself the window has closed and stop taking the next step. If you are still trying, the clock hasn't run out.